Okay, here's the final safe jacked up solution with jack stands and where they fit on the frame. Okay, we're ready to get at this thing. Hi, working on the brakes today on this 2005 Scion TC. Been some complaints of pulsing and noise coming from the front brakes. So I'm going to take this apart and see what we can find and get them working good again. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the caliper pins, make sure they aren't stuck, because that can cause that sort of thing. Okay, it's a two-piece caliper on this Toyota, on the Scion. A little bit different than sometimes on American cars. So we're going to take the caliper pins apart. It's a 14mm socket. That way we can check the pins to make sure they're not frozen on there too. Like I said, 14 millimeter. So the piston section of this separates from the actual bracket section that holds the pad bracket. Okay, so we get this part. I'll set this up somewhere and I'll never let it dangle by the hydraulic line. Okay, so here's the proper caliper pin. Nice and free. And here is an improper caliper pin. What I'm going to have to do on this is try to get it out of here. It's 17mm, but I mean it's designed to just turn and slip. But I think they put the hex on it so you can bust it loose if you need to. Alright, it's turning. Well, here, no doubt, is our problem. That caliper cannot close evenly with only one pin. So I'm trying to get this thing to tap out. Okay, so it's coming out with a combination of vice grips and hammer. And you can beat this out one way or another. Helps to turn it at the same time. That's a bad pin. Bad pin. Trip down to I'm picking Advance Auto. I got one right in the neighborhood here. Also what I'm going to do is clean out the bore in here. Sometimes even a relatively simple job like this, placing a couple pins, turns into, well, it's not a nightmare, let's not overstate it here, but trouble, real trouble. So at this point I've tried a number of things on this. I've been working this stuck pin back and forth. I've hammered on it in this manner here. Spray some penetrant, some PB Blaster in there. Work it back and forth. Okay, I've been looking at this a little bit wrong here. Beginning to think this might be a job for a screwdriver, you know, with its tapered end. Let's try another size. Let's bring out the big guy. See what he can do. I think I've got a little bit more separation. Let's take this thing for a spin. Wow. So now we're at the point here where this gap is wide enough here that I can actually get my large vice grip plier in there. Cinch it down good. And I think I can get some better blows now. Oh yeah! It's starting to come now. Look at that. We've doubled the gap during that little session right there. I smell blood. Got it. That took a little trouble. Now a little time and trouble. But we salvaged this bracket assembly, which I did not care to buy from Toyota. Now what I'm going to have to do is unbolt it, take it out, clean that bore out really good. So the next job here on this 2005 Scion TC is going to be to take the bracket assembly off here so I can clean up. And I'm not going to attempt to clean up this bore where we had the C stud without taking it off here. I'm going to take it off and I want to clean it up really good before we put another one in there. Now these are 17 millimeter here. One up there. That I can't reach, of course. This big, with this half-inch drive. So I'm gonna have to go to 3/8. But anyway, get those two off and we'll pull that off of there. Okay, now we're gonna drive off this this boot, which actually has a little pressed-in metal part to it. You can see it here, so I just get a screw there. Now you're now using a circular file. I'm just going to clean the inside of this bore up a little bit. Okay, what I'm going to do next to clean up this bore, it's got a pencil here. I wrap a little, it's like 100 grit sandpaper. This just fits kind of nicely in here. Let's get a little bit more of that off of there. Okay, next up, we're going to make ourselves a little cotton swab. A piece of cotton rag there. Wrap it around our handy little pencil. Dip it in lacquer thinner. Okay, we have the bore all cleaned out now. Went in there with sandpaper, file, lacquer thinner. So now I loaded up a little cotton swab with some caliper grease, coating the inside of this nicely here. CRC brake caliper grease. A generous amount inside here. We'll also put a generous amount on the pin itself. Spreading it on there nicely, evenly with a Q-tip. We're also going to lube the inside of this. This is a replacement boot assembly. Okay, this boot fits in kind of like a little seal, kind of presses in there. So I'm thinking, kind of drive it in like you drive in a seal. Put it in there and seat it. It's still not in all the way. It looks like I need to get the blow more over on this side. Okay. And the only other thing, put the new, ooh, look at that. That's the way we want it. The boot will have to come up over there. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Ready to install. Okay. And put this shoe bracket back on. This gets torqued to right around 38 to 40 foot-pounds. And I do generally want to torque brake parts. I just feel that they're fairly critical safety items. So if you have a torque wrench, do it. If you don't, well, make sure they're plenty tight. Okay, roughly 40, and we're there. You need to get in here. I'm not going to be getting in there. Yeah, that's one of the problems with this type of torque wrench, is that you just aren't going to get everywhere with it. And that can be true of many automotive fasteners. So what I do then is I just try to duplicate one that I could measure. There. Okay, I'm going to put some of this disc brake quiet. This car's been squealing a little bit. I clean this up a little bit with some lacquer thinner first. Just putting it on the surface where this case is where the piston meets the back of the pad. Okay, now we're going to remount the caliper, which has been resting quietly out of the way here on top of the rotor. Okay, this 14mm caliper to bracket bolts should be torqued to about 28 to 30. Okay, we're wrapping up this Scion TC. Turned out rotors are fine. Checked them out, they're pretty much even all the way around. Plenty of brake pad. This was a caliper pin issue. I replaced a couple of stuck pins. So now let's put the tire back on, the wheel back on, 100 pounds.